My name is Lisa Miele, and I am the director of the Low Vision Resource Center and Owl Radio. And we want to welcome you today to the online recorded version of the 23rd Annual Low Vision Expo. The Low Vision Resource Center has been putting on the expo for the last 23 years, and this was our very first online version of it, thanks to the San Antonio Lighthouse for the Blind. I want to introduce to you Shirlee Crandall from the San Antonio Lighthouse and have her tell you more about their programming.
San Antonio Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired's Rehabilitation Department is a nonprofit providing programs for all ages, such as independent living skills, technology training, job placement, and much more. To learn about all of our free services, visit salighthouse.org or call 210-531-1547.
We hope that you enjoy the programs that we're putting on the YouTube channels of both of our organizations, as well as our podcast page. For those of you not familiar with Owl Radio, we provide 24/7 access to the written word for those who cannot read on their own due to print impairment or visual impairment. If you would like to learn more about it, please visit www.owlradio.org or feel free to call us at 210-829-4223. Enjoy the incredible programs that took place at the 23rd Annual Expo, and we look forward to seeing you next year.
We are going to be talking about our adults and seniors program services. We're going to tell you a little bit about the Lighthouse, a little bit about eye diseases and some things you need to know, some ways that you can help yourself if you have low vision or a loved one with their low vision, and take any questions that you might have.
Looks like all the vendors are in their hall except for Vanda.
So our mission is to provide adults and seniors with vision loss the skills, tools, and resources needed for maintaining independence in their homes and the community. And their homes can be independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing, wherever they are calling home, we can provide assistance to them there. The San Antonio Lighthouse has been around since 1933. So we are a long-standing part of the south side of San Antonio. We have two sides to our organization. We have our plant, and in our plant, we employ up to 75% blind and low vision individuals at any given time. And that allows them to produce items like garments for the military, as well as office supplies, so that they can have a good, steady employment, which is a difficulty a lot of individuals with disabilities face, is finding good, consistent employment, and especially one that is accommodating. So we try to be as accommodating as possible in our buildings, and also, again, on that machinery that is adapted for the ease of their use. So that is our for-profit side of the Lighthouse, our plants, and our nonprofit side is the side that Vanessa and I represent, our rehabilitation programs. We have programs for children going through school all the way to transitioning into the workforce. We have programs for adults to assist with gaining employment and getting work-related job skills, as well as resumes, things of that nature. And then we have our adults and seniors program, where we focus on that independence in their home or in the community. And a little bit later, I'll go over all of our services. But first, I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page of understanding about the spectrum that is visual impairment. We tend to use blind. It's a quicker, shorter word. It's a catch-all. And really, in our minds, I think most people think someone who's blind has no vision. They see just black all the time. But the good news is that that is only about 5 to 10% of the visually impaired community that have no usable remaining vision. The remainder of those are either low vision, legally blind, and that is a collective term of visual impairment to include all of those individuals. So essentially, we should replace the word blind with visually impaired, or at least change our thought process to understand that it includes more people with usable remaining vision than with none. So blind, again, is someone who does not have any usable remaining vision. They may be able to detect light. They may be able to see where light is coming from. They may see shadows, but really they don't have usable remaining vision in the sense of being able to read, drive, or do those types of daily activities. Someone who is legally blind has a visual acuity of 2200 or less in their better eye with best correction, or they have a very small visual field of 20 degrees. That fits the legal description of legal blindness. And some organizations do require that legal blind distinction to be able to receive services. We are not one of those organizations. Anyone with a visual impairment that impacts their daily living activities, in other words, they find it very difficult to do things independently due to their vision, we are able to provide assistance. So that brings us to our last term of low vision, which is 20/70 to 2200, again, with best correction in that better eye, or that visual field of less than 30 degrees. So now you have a little bit more understanding of the spectrum that is blindness. It is not all just people that have no remaining usable vision. You've likely heard of several of these common eye diseases: cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, and retinitis pigmentosa. Cataracts are an overall haze in the visual field. So everything that you see just looks a little bit hazy. And there are a spectrum with the symptoms of all of these diseases as well. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people think, oh, well, if you have cataracts, that's something that you're going to see that same way at all times, which isn't the case. So in the case of cataracts, glare can be an issue, moving from light to dark or dark to light. So for example, going inside your home on a bright day and it's darker inside, or coming out of a building out into that bright sunlight. People aren't going to be able to adjust as quickly. So there is fluidity to these conditions. And that's, again, something I really want to emphasize that a lot of people don't realize is the case with all of these conditions. If you've met one person with cataracts or any of these diseases, you've met one person. They are all going to be different, even though they may share the same visual condition. In macular degeneration, that tends to be an age-related condition, usually starts to be noticed around 60 or 70 years of age, and that is a central vision issue. So you might start to notice just almost like a little smudge in the center of your vision that may become bigger and bigger until you have a fairly good blockage of that central vision. Someone with macular degeneration may move their head in a little bit of a different manner because they're trying to catch something that they'd like to see in that usable remaining peripheral vision. Glaucoma is the opposite of that. The peripheral vision comes in. So their central vision may still be very good, but you may see them bump into things because they're not able to use that peripheral vision. That's the part that's being compromised. In diabetic retinopathy, we have a large prevalence of that in San Antonio because we tend to have a higher diabetic population. And in fact, diabetic retinopathy is the leading cause of blindness in US adults. In diabetic retinopathy, when people don't have good control of their blood sugars consistently, that consistently high blood sugar begins to affect the optic nerve, begins to affect the blood vessels, and those blood vessels can rupture or leak matter into their visual field, and it will obstruct it. So it could just make it blurry, or it could just be a black splotch that you cannot see through. And again, that is a very fluid condition. Just as if you were to scratch your hand and cut it, your body is going to heal that. The same will happen in your eye, and your body will try to take that matter away, and it may improve to a degree over time. And then you might have another episode where a blood vessel will burst or leak in another portion of your vision. So that is why it is such a changing scenario for everyone with a visual condition. It's very disorienting for that individual. And sometimes it's very hard for them to communicate exactly what is going on. It's a lot for them to deal with, much less, really process it and communicate it effectively to someone else. So sometimes a caretaker might feel like the person they're giving care to is having selective vision. And that's generally not the case. It's generally because the fluidity of that eye condition is just making itself known. The last condition that is fairly prevalent is retinitis pigmentosa. That normally has an onset in around age 40. It can onset in juveniles as well. And in this case, that is where the vision just keeps closing in and closing in. It starts with maybe some night blindness, and that peripheral vision just starts to come in. That visual field really starts to close down. So that can sometimes lead to total blindness where the individual does have no remaining vision. Do we have any questions about the things that I've gone over so far? All right, well, if you do, you can ask them at the end or when we take another pause, or throw them in the chat, and we want to be sure to address those for you. So some things that you might experience or your loved one might be experiencing might be blurry vision, difficulty with glare, even indoors, not just outside in bright sunshine, but just a very bright white page is going to create glare that is painful for them or problematic. Colors may seem faded. They may experience poor night vision or night blindness. They may experience double vision, have that fuzzy or shadowy central vision, like with the macular degeneration, difficulty with the peripheral vision, as in glaucoma and retinitis pigmentosa, inability to adjust to not only dark rooms, but any changing light condition, and the ability to focus up close. So if you or a loved one, you suspect they may be having some issues, here are some questions that you might want to ask. Do they have trouble seeing even with their corrective glasses or contacts? Do they have difficulty reading print on newspapers, magazines, medications, menus, labels, food items? Have they ever been told, or have you ever been told by an eye doctor that you have a condition? What questions have you asked about that? What things do you know about that condition? How often should you be followed up for that condition? Do you have difficulty going down steps, stairs, or with curbs, or in dim light or at night? Often depth perception is something that is affected by these eye conditions, and so that has a great effect on mobility. It increases the risk for falling, and that is why we offer our orientation and mobility service that I'll go over shortly. If they're looking at their phone or reading text on a computer screen or tablet, do they have difficulty reading that at the normal font size? Do they have to increase the font size dramatically to be able to see it? Or have they had to give up driving or give up driving at night due to their eyesight? So if you're answering yes to these questions and you're not currently being followed routinely by your eye doctor, I really encourage you to make that appointment today. And for everyone, regardless of if you're experiencing any of these issues, a yearly eye exam is recommended for everyone because they can detect things earlier than you can see that something is going wrong. And most anytime you catch something early, you're going to have more options. You're going to have more of a chance to be able to do something about it rather than allowing it to progress and not being able to address that issue. So some top tips that we can share for those people who have a visual impairment are to use talking items. And I'm going to stop my screen share here for just a moment so that I can demonstrate some items for you. We have a talking keychain. This device just allows you to hear the time audibly.
It is 5:01 p.m.
Obviously, it is not set correctly right now, but this little device can be worn around your neck or just placed in a pocket. And those individuals that don't have a smartphone or access to Alexa or anything like that can have time at the ready. And we are told very frequently that this device is very, very handy throughout their day. Another thing that is very helpful for individuals with low vision is the use of large print as well as contrast. So this has good contrast because it's clear with a bright blue bold letter. Also, this particular pill box has Braille markings in the corner. So if someone knows Braille, they can use that with no remaining vision. And this is a nice large pill box. It's just much easier to navigate. So along with that contrast, this is another example. If you had a placemat that was the same color as the plate, it's really going to blend into the background. So it's not going to stand out quite as well. But if you use something that is a darker contrasting color, you're going to be able to see now where the edge of that plate is. So contrast is very helpful. And then lighting is another really great help. This is a very small, very bright LED light that you can carry around in your purse. It attaches, you can clip it on a pocket or a belt loop, and you can have that lighting whenever you need it. And the final thing is tactile marking. Again, I talked about the Braille marking here, but another thing that we can do is the use of bump dots to mark things like appliances and remote controls, and anything that you need to tactily find a location for, we can help out with those bump dots.
5 minutes,
So,
Shirlee.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm just going to pop my screen back up here. So our services, again, you don't need to be legally blind to qualify for the services. We are a nonprofit. Our services are free of charge. We're never going to ask you for billing information for your Medicare or Medicaid. We are funded not only through grants and donations, but also by the profits from our plant, from our for-profit side. So we have, yes, our 5 free services, we have our independent living skills training. Those adaptive aids that I just showed you are part of that. So when someone is referred to us, we do a phone assessment to determine their needs, what adaptive aids would be most helpful, and then we can provide those either by mailing them and going over the use over the phone, or in-person visits. Our orientation and mobility specialists are trained in white cane use, so they can train someone how to use that long white cane to navigate their surroundings safely so that they can remain as independent as possible. And they can also train using a support cane, wheelchair, or walker, depending on what the individual's mobility needs are. Those white canes are red and white. That's the universal symbol for blindness. And it goes 2 ways. Not only does it help the user by giving them tactile feedback of what is on the ground and around them, but it also allows everyone else who can see that they have a mobility limitation and to give them the right of way. So it just allows us to provide them a little grace in their moving around. We also offer our counseling sessions. We partner with licensed counselors, and we can provide up to 3 to 5 one-hour counseling sessions. We often deal with individuals who have age-related eye changes. So they've been sighted all of their life, and now they're faced with things like no longer being able to drive, or difficulty reading their mail or managing their finances. All of those things are incredibly frustrating and stressful. So our counselors can help them process those emotions, but most importantly, they can provide skills, coping skills and strategies to help them move forward in a positive manner. We also offer our low vision clinic eye evaluation and devices. If someone has an individual monthly income of $1,300 or less, we are able to provide this free of charge. We cover the cost of the exam and up to $500 worth of devices, excluding eyeglasses. So things like lighted electronic magnifiers, solar shields, monoculars, things of that nature. Your normal eye doctor or ophthalmologist is not going to be versed in prescribing that. So if you are experiencing low vision and you have not seen a low vision specialist, please let us know. And if you are above that income amount, we're going to ask that you use your insurance, and we're going to ask that you deal directly with the low vision clinic, or ask them about what sliding scale options they're able to offer to you. And our final service is part of our new health and wellness program. We have diabetes self-management education, because as I was talking about earlier with the diabetic retinopathy, it is the chronic elevation of those blood sugars that begin to cause the damage throughout the body. So what we are able to provide to help those with a visual impairment manage their diabetes are talking devices like a talking glucometer, a talking blood pressure cuff, and a talking scale, because monitoring your weight is also very important. So our phone number, if you need to reach us, 210-531-1547. or you can go to salighthouse.org, and in the very top left-hand corner is a refer or request for services button. We also offer low vision clubs that meet monthly all around the area in and around San Antonio, so that people are able to come together, share best practices, and just be around people that really get what they're going through, which is that support is very, very important. So we have sometimes speakers that are doctors or related to eye conditions, and other times we have fun recreational type of presentations because engaging in those hobbies that we enjoy is still very important. So we have someone from Wild Birds Unlimited who did a presentation on birding by sound that everybody really enjoyed. So again, if you need to contact us, the phone number or the salighthouse.org is how you can get to us.
Anybody is free to refer themselves. So once that referral goes in, one person on our team will contact you and provide information about our program, and we'll be able to complete an assessment to see what items might benefit you and what services might benefit you. You can also call our office, the 210-531-1547. You can also join our Facebook page.
And if you do know anyone, friend, neighbor, someone you go to church with that is experiencing vision loss, please don't hesitate to send them our way. We'd love to be able to provide them any assistance that we are able to. Again, we are really focused on helping people remain as independent as possible in all of their daily activities. And that is our main goal in assisting everyone.
Yes, and especially during COVID, where we're forced to do everything either online or by phone. One thing that I've been coordinating is one of our low vision clubs in New Braunfels. So we've been joining virtually over Zoom. So I have people that I get to see on camera and those that call in with their phone, and I get to talk to them. So it's really nice to have that sense of community, even though we're all kind of in our own rooms. But it's been a positive experience despite that. So if you're also interested in joining our low vision clubs, we always have room for new members. And it's just a really nice way to get some peer support, which is really helpful when it comes to coping with vision loss too, because you're talking with other members who know what you're going through and can relate and provide some helpful tips and strategies for how to do certain things too. So it's really
yes. So please reach out to us or any support that you're in need of. I'm going to hop off and go to our next presentation, and we hope to see you over there.